Let's talk about a different kind of war. One fought with paper and sound, not bullets. During the Vietnam War, the U.S. dropped over 50 billion leaflets on Vietnam, Laos, and Cambodia, about 1,500 pieces for every person there. This wasn't just littering. It was psychological warfare, or psyops. The goal? Influence the enemy's mind, break their will, and plant seeds of doubt. Imagine a tired soldier in the jungle, missing home, when a leaflet flutters down promising safety if he surrenders. That small piece of paper could make him question everything. Psyops targeted the mind, not the body, and in Vietnam, that was just as important as any firefight. The North Vietnamese and Viet Cong fought back with their own psychological tactics. They didn't have the resources for mass leaflet drops, but they used rumors, hand-printed notes, and deep cultural knowledge. They played on fears of foreign invaders and promised land and freedom. Both sides waged a relentless battle for the loyalty and morale of soldiers and civilians. In this war, a whisper or a rumor could be as powerful as a bullet. The struggle for hearts and minds was constant, subtle, and often invisible. It was a war fought in the shadows, with every scrap of paper and every rumor a weapon. The psychological front was as brutal and confusing as the physical one. For many, the real battle was internal. Fear, doubt, and hope all tangled together. The paper weapon was cheap, but its effects could be devastating. In Vietnam, the mind was the ultimate battlefield. Both sides understood, win the mind, and you might just win the war. The leaflets, rumors, and whispers were all part of a larger, unseen conflict. In the end, the psychological war left scars that were just as real as any wound. The paper weapon was silent, but its impact echoed long after the fighting stopped. The American strategy was called winning hearts and minds. The goal convinced South Vietnamese civilians that the U.S. and their government offered a better future than communism. This wasn't just propaganda. It meant building schools, digging wells, and providing medical care. The hope was that improving lives would win loyalty. But war complicates everything. One day, soldiers handed out candy. The next, they might destroy homes searching for Viet Cong. This bred confusion and mistrust. The Viet Cong had their own approach, listening to villagers, promising land reform, and embedding themselves in communities. They were both ruthless and patient, making themselves part of village life. For civilians, it was a terrible dilemma. Trust the armed foreigners or the local fighters who might punish them for cooperating with the enemy? Most people just wanted to survive, cooperating with whoever was in control at the moment. The battle for hearts and minds often just left people confused and afraid. Both sides tried to win loyalty, but often only deepened the suffering. In the end, survival, not ideology, was the priority for most. The campaign's noble intentions were lost in the chaos of war. Hearts and minds were rarely won. More often, they were broken. The psychological struggle was as messy as the physical one. In Vietnam, the line between friend and foe was always blurred. Let's return to those billions of leaflets. Some were safe conduct passes, promising humane treatment to any enemy who surrendered. Others were designed to frighten or demoralize, showing images of dead soldiers or messages like, "Your leaders are safe while you die." Many played on homesickness, urging soldiers to return to their families. The designs had to be simple: cartoons, symbols, and cultural references for those who couldn't read. One series used a cartoon character to show the benefits of surrender. Another showed the U.S. Eagle defeating the Vietnamese dragon. Did it work? Sometimes. Thousands surrendered with safe conduct passes in their pockets, but many ignored the leaflets or used them for toilet paper. Sometimes the propaganda backfired, making the enemy more determined. The psychological assault from above was relentless, but its effectiveness was always uncertain. The leaflets were a gamble. Sometimes they saved lives, sometimes they hardened resolve. The true impact was impossible to measure. For every mind changed, many more were unmoved. The paper rain was a constant reminder. In Vietnam, the war was everywhere, even falling from the sky. Propaganda was a weapon, but not always a predictable one. The battle for the mind was fought one leaflet at a time. In the end, the psychological war was as much about hope as it was about fear. The leaflets became part of the landscape, symbols of a war that reached into every corner of life. Paper wasn't the only weapon. Sound was just as powerful. One of the creepiest tactics was ghost tape number 10. Americans learned that many Vietnamese believed souls not buried at home would wander in torment. So they created a recording of a ghostly, wailing voice begging comrades to surrender. Helicopters blasted this tape over the jungle at night, hoping to terrify enemy soldiers. Some Viet Cong found it frightening, others saw through the trick. It was psychological warfare at its most unsettling. Radio was another key tool. The U.S. ran Radio GVN, broadcasting news, music, and propaganda. They targeted North Vietnamese soldiers, trying to convince them the war was lost. But the North Vietnamese had their own weapon, Hanoi Hannah. She became infamous among American GIs, her voice a constant reminder that the enemy was always listening. The airwaves became a battlefield, with both sides fighting to control the story. Sound, like paper, was a weapon aimed at the mind. In Vietnam, even the silence could be filled with fear. The psychological war was everywhere, on the ground, in the air, and in the dark. The Chio Hoi, or Open Arms program, offered amnesty to enemy soldiers who defected. Defectors, called Hoi Chan, were promised safety, food, and a new start. It was the practical side of the safe conduct passes. Over 160,000 enemy soldiers defected through the program, removing divisions from the battlefield without a shot. Some brought valuable intelligence, others returned to their old units as spies. The program's success was real, but so were its problems: suspicion, betrayal, and the strange reality of welcoming yesterday's enemy. For many, it was a risky gamble for a chance at survival. The Open Arms program was both a lifeline and a source of mistrust. It showed the contradictions of war. Enemies one day, allies the next. In the psychological war, even surrender was complicated. The North Vietnamese had their own propaganda star, Hanoi Hannah. Broadcasting in English, she played anti-war songs, read casualty lists, and reported on protests back home. Her broadcasts were eerily specific, sometimes naming American soldiers and units. This created the myth that the Viet Cong knew everything. In reality, she used public sources, but to lonely GIs, it felt personal. Her goal was to make soldiers feel isolated and question their mission. GIs listened, sometimes for the music, sometimes out of curiosity. Her words got under their skin, a constant reminder that the enemy was always watching. Hanoi Hannah became a legend, her voice haunting veterans long after the war. She proved the North Vietnamese were just as skilled at psychological warfare. In Vietnam, even the radio could be a weapon. Beyond leaflets and broadcasts, rumors were a powerful weapon, especially for the Viet Cong. They spread fake news by word of mouth, sowing chaos and distrust. Stories about traitorous generals or poisoned rice spread quickly and were hard to disprove. Rumors felt personal, coming from neighbors or relatives, not outsiders. Armed propaganda teams visited villages, building trust through conversation and help. The Americans tried to counter with their own rumors, but as outsiders, their message rarely stuck. The Viet Cong tailored their stories to each village, exploiting fears and grievances. Sometimes a whisper was more effective than a bomb. The war of rumors showed that controlling the story was as important as controlling territory. In Vietnam, the truth was always up for grabs. Psychological warfare was low-tech, but devastatingly effective. The battle for belief was fought one rumor at a time. Did psychological warfare decide the war? Not alone, but it left deep scars. For soldiers, it added stress and confusion to an already brutal conflict. For civilians, it meant constant fear, suspicion, and broken trust. The battle for hearts and minds often left the heart of the country shattered. Psyops changed how wars are fought, making influence a permanent weapon. The wounds from this invisible war were real, even if you couldn't see them. In Vietnam, the psychological battle was as relentless as the physical one. Its legacy still shapes how we fight and remember war today. The psychological war in Vietnam was a hidden battlefield, messy, complicated, and deeply human. It wasn't just about armies, but about fear, hope, and belief. Leaflets, ghost tapes, and radio broadcasts were all weapons in a fight for the mind. The legacy of these tactics lives on in today's world of social media and information wars. The tools have changed, but the goal, shaping perception, remains. The lessons from Vietnam are more relevant than ever. We're all part of a psychological war now, whether we realize it or not. The story of Vietnam's psychological battle is a reminder: the dirtiest jobs often target the mind, not the body. Thanks for joining me on this journey. There's always more to the story.